The events unfolding in Russia, I think, require at least some brief commentary. I'm referring to two events, actually. One, a Ukrainian attack on Sevastopol using U.S.-supplied ATACMS missiles, and the second, a terrorist attack in Dagestan that appears to have all the hallmarks of Western involvement. Let there be no doubt, these are two direct attacks against Russia by proxies of the United States and of NATO. And it's more than just a proxy engagement, given the necessity of preparation, intelligence support, etc. This is a direct attack on Russia by the United States, by NATO, and by non-NATO European entities. All of the parties that have made a decision in the last several days and weeks to expand the scope and scale of their participation in the Ukrainian-Russian conflict. Now, some people are saying that the Ukrainians deliberately attacked a beach in Sevastopol. The evidence shows that this most likely is not the case, that 5 ATACMS missiles were fired, 4 were shot down, a 5th one being shot down dispersed either cluster bombs or fragments from the destroyed missile onto the beach, killing a number of Russians, wounding many others. But that doesn't matter. The Ukrainians made a decision to use ATACMS missiles equipped with cluster munitions against a city, a civilian city. This is an act of terrorism. This is in keeping with the Ukrainian actions that have transpired over the course of the past years, where Ukraine since 2014 has been bombarding Russian civilian sites, cities, villages, towns, for the sole purpose of inflicting death and destruction on Russian civilians. This is an act of terrorism, and given that the ATACMS missile cannot be deployed by the Ukrainians without extensive intelligence support by the United States, this is an act of terrorism by the United States against Russia. The same can be said about the attacks in Dagestan. These are deliberately designed to disrupt the civil life of the Russian Federation. Dagestan is part of the Russian Federation. And it's also designed to engender a split between the Muslim and non-Muslim segments of Russian society. This is a tactic that goes back to the First Chechen War and the Second Chechen War, where the CIA and other European intelligence agencies sought to split Chechnya away from the Russian Federation. That effort failed, and the effort in Dagestan will fail too. But it doesn't absolve the parties involved of their guilt in launching what is a direct assault on the Russian Federation. Now the question is, what will Russia do? Historically speaking, the Russian Federation has shown an ability to absorb provocations of this nature and remain focused on the task at hand, which of course is achieving the goals of the special military operation, the demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine. But at some point in time, there will have to be a response. And what is an appropriate response? That's up for the Russian Federation to decide, but let there be no doubt that if and when the time comes for the Russian Federation to respond to all of those responsible for this horrific series of attacks, that the perpetrators held to account will not just be the Ukrainians, but those who have provided the Ukrainians with the weapons and the intelligence and the training to carry out these dastardly, cowardly attacks. We live in very dangerous times. We live at a time when Russia, the United States, and NATO have all been beating the nuclear drum. We don't need a nuclear war, but that's the direction we're heading if we don't stop this insanity. And by stopping this insanity, this means stopping the United States, stopping NATO, stopping Europe from continuing to facilitate these terrorist attacks by Ukraine against Russia. Have a great Sunday.
This is Galatians 6 and 7. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Kahala Yahweh Bashem Yashai, Bashem Rapopradash. The Lord is my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, with the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today were known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, who before losing our true heritage, we were known as, and still are, the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the two big events that took place today, and namely over there in Russia. But as you heard the commentary of Scott Ritter talking about these events, and how for the most part this is going to be very bad news for peace in the world. And this is going to be just one of the many reasons why the world is going to go into World War III, which the Bible refers to as Armageddon. Okay, and at this point, it seems that these devils, these Edomites, they're rushing into this. Because why? Well, the Bible tells us that Satan knoweth that he has but a short time. And that's why these devils are doing so much right now. Okay, be it from the distraction and psyops that they're doing on the American populace and pretty much around the world, to the bringing forward of the mark of the beast, which is the RFID microchip implants, which they're going to either put in your hands or your foreheads, things like Neuralink and whatnot. And then also what you see going on with the economy, okay, how they're about to implode the system so that they could bring forward their solution, that being the digital currency, which is going to eventually be tied into a global social credit system ran by these devils. Now, as I just read here, it tells us in Galatians, that which you sow is what you will reap. And what do you think these Edomites, and when I say Edom, I'm talking about the so-called Caucasian race, right? Because that's their biblical name. That's their true identity that they continue to run from. What do you think is going to happen to them as they continue to poke their fellow Edomites living in the East, right? Russia and whatnot. Well, they're going to go to war. And this war is going to be something that the whole world has not witnessed, and namely because of the nuclear missiles that it's going to end with. On top of that, look at what Edom is doing. Doing sabotages. Remember the theater attacks that took place, I think, like 2-3 months ago over in Russia, that they linked the terrorists back to Ukraine and also Ukrainian money, basically just pointing the fingers at America and the NATO forces, which are pretty much propping up Ukraine as a shield against Russia. But the thing is this is not going to end well, right? Because why do I say that? Well, the Bible makes it very clear that they're going to basically pick the wrong one. They're gonna choose to fight against an adversary that they cannot win against. Okay, that being Russia, China, and Iran. And you can add North Korea to that, especially with the military treaty that Russia made recently with North Korea, right? It was such a sweetheart deal that Putin gifted Kim Jong-il like a Russian luxury sedan. There's a big old PR video going around about it, right? Pretty much showing that they're like best friends now. And pretty much North Korea is going to be in. Now, North Korea, the forces themselves, they're not that much to go against Edom, but the big issue is that it's their nukes, okay? Their nuclear weapons that they have. Now, that being said, let's read this. This is Ezekiel 38:4. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Now this is a future prophecy for the great war to come, Armageddon. And in this case here, the Lord revealed unto Ezekiel that how he was going to basically goad Russia, who in this verse is called Magog, is referred to Magog, I should say, because Russia is in the land of that. And also, too, besides that, the beloved Apostle Tahar made a crucial discovery. When you get into the name Russia, it basically means the chief prince. And the thing is the Bible, declares the chief prince of Tubal and Tubal or something like that, right? Meaning that Russia is going to be the main nation that's going to come up against Babylon the Great. And what else does the Lord decree to these Russians? That not only will he put a hook into their jaw to force them into fight, because when you look at the Russian people and Putin's stances with all the shit that's been going on, from the numerous NATO treaties that have been broken, with NATO getting closer and closer to their borders, up until the point where they try to take over Ukraine, where Russia had to do something, to all these terrorist events that are being conducted by the West in Russia. I'm surprised these guys haven't already attacked. But again, the Lord is going to do something to the point where it's going to force Russia to respond, okay? And what we're looking at now are those hooks that the Lord is putting into the jaws of the Russians, okay? Because pretty soon it's going to get to the point where they're not going to be able to deny or have any plausibility that America and the NATO forces were not involved, okay? In that video of those people being bombed, those civilians being bombed on the beach, right? If you read the description at the bottom of that video, it pointed out where the U.S. drone base is at, and also talking about how the ATACMS missile system isn't even Ukraine's, it's ours. And when I say ours, I mean America, right? It's the Edom's, Babylon the Great's, missile system or drone system that these Ukrainians can't even fly. They don't even have the qualifications or the ability to launch those, right? That's something all that America has supplied. So we're going to see what Russia does, but you could bet your bottom dollar that this is going to get the people in Russia roused up, and along with all the NATO, all the other, the BRICS nations, to get them roused up too, because their big brother, Russia, is getting attacked. Right? And it's very obvious why this is going on. So let's get this. This is Joel 2:20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and I will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face towards the east sea, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea. And his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. And this ultimately is talking about the Babylon, right? The American army, and how the Lord's going to cause an event to where he's going to cause them to, America, Babylon the Great, to deploy their army to the Middle East, and namely in Saudi Arabia. Now, let's read this. It says, the USS Theodore Roosevelt is also currently on its way to deploy to the coast of Israel in the Mediterranean Sea, due to the expected war with Hezbollah, Iran in Lebanon, basically. Most likely, the U.S. will directly participate in an air attack on Lebanon, and also Israel will use these aircraft carriers if Hezbollah destroys the airfields in Israel. Looks like we'll be seeing a sunken aircraft carrier soon. The U.S. invests heavily in protecting Israel. So there you go. You see that? The Lord, he's starting to rise up the temperature of the people who run the world, okay? And he's causing them to move forward with their plan to bring forward this, this World War III. Because remember, it tells us in Albert Pike's letter to the Italian politician Giuseppe Mazzini how the Freemasons were going to orchestrate 3 world wars to ultimately give them power and have them take control over the entire world. Okay, and that's what they're ultimately doing. They're going for their set agenda, because they know that this is the time they have before the Lord comes back. This is Revelations 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. And the writing is on the wall, Akim. Right? We could see all these things taking place. We could see how there's going to be no chance for peace. You know, they, like that famous idiom goes, America has crossed the Rubicon. There's no way America and Russia are going to go back to being friends without some sort of conflict now. Okay? And now with the things that Amalek, right, the so-called Jewish people over there in the land of Israel are doing, there's no coming back from that. Okay? They've already committed to a genocide, and the NATO and American forces are with them, and the world sees it. Okay? And this has now started a chain of events that these devils aren't going to be able to pull back from. Okay, and this goes to that scripture, Micah 2:3. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Bashim Yashai, behold, against this family do I devise an evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. And this family that the Lord is talking about here is ultimately talking about the house of Edom, right? The Caucasian race. Because this is how the Lord is going to ultimately bring an end to the Edomite empire that currently runs the world. Okay? He's going to bring them forward to fight in this war that they think that they're going to win, but ultimately it's going to destroy both the, I guess you could say, the Western and Eastern powers are participate in it, because though they may start the war and they're going to shoot back and forth, what's ultimately going to happen is that the Messiah, along with the angels, are going to show up during World War III, and that's when the nuclear missiles are going to be set off. But in doing so, these angels in these chariots, so-called UFOs, are going to ultimately decimate, destroy, and obliterate the armies of the world that the Lord currently is gathering there in the Valley of Israel, or as the Bible talks about it, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, the Valley of Armageddon, Armageddon, right? All these things, right, are taking place for the end to come. So, we're at the very end of this Akim. Like all we got to see now is the Mark become mandatory and World War III break out. So, just paying attention to share with you, Akim. Hopefully this video was edifying. Until next time, I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh Bashem Yashai, Bashem Kakwadash. Shalom.